Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu-alaikum. Jiayanu, Pakhair Agale, Ni Hao, Chunashumme, Washmale. Ohio gozaimasu. Guten Morgen, Hola, Boyo, Privyet, Kaifa hal? Halishuma Chatore, Ahlan Wasalam, Marhaba. Buna, mucho gracias, Swabia, Balli Kare Aya, Hosh Galden, Hanaya Sayo, Huyamura, Chivato, Chi Aljod, Kalimera, Kharutan, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning. Alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Ms. Haja Sethi. I happen to be Shahzad Hasan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're all geared up to vote in the general elections. But first things first, hello Haja, assalamu alaikum, how are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam, jazakallah khair Shahzad for introducing me, thank you so much. And let's talk about the vote because it is the election season and there's an entire environment of the election season because you see how the voters or the people who are standing for their constituencies, they're campaigning, so there's an entire, I would say, environment of that election. There's a wave of this election and people are going and they have their hujras or their particular areas where the men go and then they're sitting and they're having the food or whatever the items, maybe biryanis or whatnot, and then there's a door-to-door campaign which is going on, people convincing each other. So there's this environment and it's beautiful that how people are adapting to this particular environment. But again, since the elections are approaching on the 8th of February, so it is vital that every Pakistani should exercise his or her vote or the right to exercise the vote because this is given to you and granted to you by the Constitution, and we hold Constitution as a very sacred document, right? So make sure that you vote on 8300 or at your CNIC number and make sure that you have the entire knowledge about what is your constituency's number and how you're going to vote out there. But I think so, even though we are telling and educating people out there, but people are generally very aware because I see that there is this wave that whenever I go and talk to the people, they are already aware of what is their particular constituencies and their vote is registered or not and how they're going to vote out there. But it's really amazing how people, enjoying talking about the politics and whatnot.
Exactly. And Haja, in addition to this, there's one more thing which I would want people to be more aware of. So, I mean, obviously it's anybody's and everybody's own choice to whoever they would want to vote, they can certainly vote and they can exercise this right. But what I would want is that I would want people to kind of read the manifesto once at least, that, what are those people, what are those promises going to do for the near future of the country and your own local constituency as well. Because most of the time, what I believe as Pakistanis that we have done is that we might not have, kind of heard about the manifesto. We might not be very aware about the manifesto or what the political parties are planning to do for the, development or the prosperity of the country. But rather what we do is that we kind of vote for that one particular person that we love the most, as a leader. So for everybody or anybody who's out there, please make sure that you read the manifestos first. What are the political parties planning to do? And not just that, before you go to vote, you really need to kind of understand that whatever manifestos were brought into power previously, whether that have been achieved by that political party or not. I think that's something to kind of have a fair analysis of who you're going to vote for. I think that's how I understand it.
Thank you so much for pointing it out there because I was exactly thinking the same when you were talking about it, especially about the manifestos, because writing a very floral verbosity manifestos is one thing, but making sure that the political parties are delivering on those particular manifesto is another thing. So I think it is also incumbent upon the political parties that whoever comes into the power, they make sure that they're able to, whatever they have written and articulated or ruminated over it, they're not just the fancy words out there, they're catapulted into the actions also, right? And like Shahzad mentioned, one of the parameters that we can gauge the success of a particular political party is that how much they were able to deliver it, right? And I think politicians all over the world have this beautiful art of articulating and their rhetoric that, this is the problem and this is that is why we are unable to do that.
Speakers anyways,
and I think, I don't know if they're convincers or not, but make sure that whatever they're articulating, they're able to deliver it. But we hope and pray and we wish that in the days to come, we have a healthy setup, political setup, and we are on the path of the most success.
And that in addition to this, we have a huge turnover as well. People are going to go exercise their right to vote as well. Because, if there are people who will not go to exercise their right to vote, please make sure that for the next 5 years, till the time you vote, ladies and gentlemen, that you're not saying anything about how the political leadership of the country is, because then you will not stand a chance to say whatever you might feel like about the situation or how the political leadership has been leading the country as well. So please make sure that you exercise your right. But now coming down to what issues do we have over here in Pakistan? I think one of those issues which we would like to highlight today is that plastic pollution has been, you know, an issue not just over here but globally. I've taken out the figures over here, Aja, which I would love to share with our audiences out there. So imagine that the plastic pollution inland and in waterways annually is somewhat around 459.75 million tons of plastic which is being produced. Till 2019, 9.5 billion tons plastic has been produced. Annually, 350 million tons of waste is produced, 35% from single-use plastic. Pakistan is producing 3.3 million tons of plastic, equivalent to height of 2 K2 mountains. And how do you think that we can end this plastic pollution? Because imagine that we're burning it openly. You know, there's climate change, there's carcinogenic, there's so many things that we're contributing to the environment. Should we really control it? But we do have somebody over here inside the studios who had a brilliant idea about it. And imagine that, you know, that for all of that plastic which is being wasted, that we are making flower pots and benches. Wow.
Right, and I think when we're talking about the elections, I think one of the important things that people should also take this into the mind is that how much political parties are focused on the climate change and they have integrated into their manifesto, because no one can question the sagacity of our Pakistani state, because Pakistan state was one of the very first pioneer state when they created the Ministry of Climate Change. And we have seen that the Environmental Protection Agency of Pakistan is very proactive in dealing with the menace of climate change and all of these environmental degradation issues that we are facing as a country, and making sure that we have more productive solutions to all of this problem, be it the plastic pollution or be it any other sort of the pollution that we are facing.
And so having proactive approach towards such disaster management as well.
True, and so we're very glad because we want our speaker to talk about it, because he has been planning about it and he is here to enlighten us about a very unique thing that he has been creating, that too from the plastic or the pollution, I would like to say. So we are very glad that we have been joined by Dr. Zagham Abbas. He happens to be the director of the National Environmental Quality Standards Lab. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Salam. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here. First things first, you know, whatever, you know, information that I've shared with our viewers, do you think that it's correct, first of all?
Exactly.
It's correct. Thank you so much.
Right.
So now imagine, before we move on towards asking you how globally, you know, things are kind of acting towards producing such climate change, and you know, where the countries like Pakistan are so vulnerable to it, and we see floods and other disasters in place. Now let's talk about how the single-use plastic can be controlled, because while I was growing up, I've seen on multiple occasions that I'll go to a shop and the shopkeeper will tell me over here in Islamabad, "Ki sir, sorry, you know, there's a plastic ban going on." Now for a couple of weeks I'll see that the plastic ban has been going on very strict and rigid, but after a while I'll be getting shopping bags from the same gentleman who actually refused it to me as well. Where are we in terms of plastic pollution?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I want to elaborate about the plastic pollution.
Sure.
Actually, plastic is produced from the petrochemicals.
True.
It is the natural resources. First of all, we have to stop and extract the use of petrochemicals.
Right.
Because different polymers like polyethylene, polystyrene, polypropylene, all these are basic raw material which is used for making different products of polythene bags. And first step which we have taken in 2019, that was on the ban of single-use polythene bags. And at that time we have studied that 55 billion polythene bags are being used in Pakistan.
Oh my God.
Billion, yes. That was the huge quantity which we are using in every category of polythene bag. And then after the follow-up of that polythene bag regulation, in 2023, then we have introduced single-use plastic prohibition regulation.
Okay.
That was in the eve of 4th June 2023.
Yes.
And the theme was solution to plastic pollution.
Right.
And at that time, that was the campaign Beat Plastic Pollution.
Right.
And the federal cabinet approved this single-use plastic prohibition regulation. And in the single-use plastic prohibition regulation, there is a 5 main categories which were part of this regulation. One is the existing polythene bag,
Right.
and the second was the crockery,
Right.
including bowls, cups, glasses, and the third categories were cutlery,
Okay.
including knives, chopsticks, all these.
Right.
And the fourth categories was the food packaging, like lidded containers, bowls, cups, and the fifth categories was the stirrers.
Okay.
So all these 5 categories have been banned since 1st August 2023.
Right.
And for the enforcement of these single-use plastic prohibition regulation, we have enforcement team, and we have divided 6 categories of Islamabad cities, and including the members from Ministry of Climate Change, Pakistan Environmental Protection Agencies, and ICT administration. And during the visits, we just initial step, we have warned all the peoples, and we have confiscated these single-use plastic which are violating the regulation, and we have collected that about 1985 kgs.
Right.
Okay.
So then we have an idea that how can we get rid of this plastic. Then I have studied then international alternatives, recycling mechanism. Then I visited one industry in Lahore, and then I have idea that how can we get recycle these confiscated polythene bags into some products.
Yeah.
So when I went there, so that was really marvelous that they are making different products from the plastic recycled
For
plastic.
example, what products, sir?
For example, they are making first item that was garden benches,
Oh, wonderful.
planters,
Wonderful.
even they are making swings,
Wow.
they are making the guards rooms, even they are making the kitchen, even they are also making the Vasa caps
And I
to
think
cover.
we do have the visuals where
Yes,
these,
this is the
benches
example which we
and,
have.
Is that dustbin? I guess so?
This is the planters.
Okay, okay, planter.
This is the planters, and the other is the green benches which we have
And
developed.
recently we have seen that Environment Protection Agency and particularly the Ministry of Climate Change has been very proactive, particularly in dealing with the menace of plastic pollution. So we have seen that there is entire plastic road which has been developed in Islamabad, right? In Islamabad is very clean and green, and it's beautiful that how we are converting the entire plastics into very productive. So what sort of response have you been getting, because you have been developing this amazing ideas, and do you have any future projects such as like that, and we want to expand the scope of that?
Exactly. So our first idea is that we are going to rotate these green benches and planters to all the public places.
Okay.
Okay.
What does rotation mean?
Rotation means we carry these
Okay.
plastic green benches
Okay.
and
So
planters.
they're not going to be fixed there.
Not going.
Okay.
We are going to fix on 2 or 3 places.
Okay, okay.
For example, in future we are going to one fix at the Parliament House,
Okay.
one fix in the Ministry of Climate Change,
Right.
and one fix in the prominent university.
Okay.
And the one planter and one bench, we will rotate all the places.
So, but why are we rotating? Because there's so much plastic pollution that we
Exactly.
contributed to. Why not make more benches and
No,
planters?
we are just giving an example
Okay.
that this we have made from the plastic, from the polythene bag.
Right.
So just to educate the people that this plastic, this
Wonderful.
waste plastic can be converted into some usable item.
And
Right.
is it a continuous process now, Doctor? Very sorry that I'm interjecting as well, but is it a continuous process that whatever plastic waste
Right.
that you keep on receiving, that you will always end up making sure that, you know, either it's a plastic bench, either it's a swing, either it's a kitchen, you know,
Exactly.
whatever,
A
yeah.
planter.
Yes,
yeah.
it is a continuous process.
Exactly. And just very quickly, because this is something which came to my mind, is it like fire friendly or is it like fireproof? You know, because we really need to kind of consider that, because temperatures over here in Pakistan are kind of get soaring to more than 45 degrees centigrade, and for something which is made up of plastic, do you think that it's going to stay over there or it's just going to melt?
No. It is fire resistance,
Okay.
heat resistance. Even there is no corrosivity on it,
Right.
and it is very hard
Okay.
and durable. If
Right.
if you just sit on it, and
Right.
it is very comfortable.
Wow,
Okay.
wonderful.
And then we are going to rotate it to schools, universities, colleges, and public places, and we are asking them
Okay.
just to collect our logo is collect plastic and reward back.
So what's the reward? For example, if I'm going to collect all the...
if someone is giving us 100 kg
Right.
plastic
Right.
atoms, we are going revert back benches like
I thought
planters,
it's
like
going to be
other
cash
items.
though.
Not in cash, but in the form of
I think it's
reward.
beautiful.
Protecting
Yeah.
the environment,
Yeah.
that's also a rewarding thing.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I think it's beautiful. But imagine where you said that 55 billion
Exactly.
polythene bags are being produced over here, and for a population of 0.25 billion, I think it's like 8 shopping bags per head. If my
Exactly.
mathematics is correct as well. So imagine that. I think everybody individual can certainly contribute. And now, alhamdulillah, I'm moving to a new place where I'll have a lawn to myself. I think might not be 100 kg, but at least 5-10 kilo mein aap tak zarur pahunchane
No
ki
issue.
karunga. And everybody should play a role. But sir, while we are at it, let's talk or touch a little bit about the open burning of the plastic as well. So, and how do you think that it contributes towards climate change? How do you think it contributes towards the destruction of the flora and fauna, wetlands, and all of these places as well? What is the impact?
Yeah, first of all, I want to explain the open burning.
Yep.
If there is a plastic with contents of chlorine, that is highly carcinogenic.
Okay.
2 types of gases, one is dioxins and other is furans, which is internationally proved carcinogenic gases. When we take it, so it ultimately happens for the carcinogenic diseases. So it is globally it is totally banned to burn plastic. So it is my message cloudly that we have to stop immediately the burning of municipal waste, particularly plastic waste.
Okay.
So it is not recommended anywhere in the world because it is carcinogenic. And the second thing, we are also increasing global warming. When we burn it, CO2 is emit, which is one of the component of greenhouse gases, and ultimately we have a member of Paris Agreement, and we have to restrict 1.5 degrees centigrade, and definitely if we go for the open burning, and it will increase greenhouse gases as well as global warming.
Right. So, Dr. Sam, now let's talk about another segment of a particular society, which are the kids who are scavenging and they are collecting their dirt from particular, the waste bins or particular the waste areas, right? So, we have seen that those kids, they are not very empowered, they are underprivileged, they are coming from a very destitute from the poverty backgrounds, and they are constantly collecting all of those plastics, right? So, why not our ministry, I don't know, have some sort of an agreement with them, or have some sort of collaboration with them, and you can also empower them because they are also collecting the plastics from that particular area. And also secondly, why not have those particularly areas reserved where you can have it particularly for the plastic waste. For example, if you go to the European countries, so you will find that there are 3 different type of dustbins, right? One is reserved for the paper bags, one is reserved for the the plastics, and one for another type of the waste, right? So are you planning on such sort of initiatives, because there are already models out there, especially in the world, if you want to learn about the plastic waste management?
Yeah, regarding the waste management, unfortunately we have not segregated system.
True.
Not even in Islamabad,
That's true.
we have not engineer landfill site, unfortunately.
That's true.
So first we have to make engineer landfill site, and there should be an integrated waste management system.
That's true.
Where the waste come, and there is a system to segregate electronic waste. We
Yes.
called it the that is used for the another purposes, and we go for the organic waste, and the third category is which is not utilized anymore.
Right.
So these 3 bins concept is everywhere. If we go, I personally visited in Geneva, where the 3 different types of vehicles comes, and they collect plastic
Yes.
bottles separately.
Yes.
They collect glass bottles or tin bottles separately,
That's true.
and organic waste separately. They have dedicated 3 vehicles. Because in our vehicles, CDA vehicles come and mix all the waste in one big bin
dumper or
and just
tractor,
mix
yes.
up.
Because I'm sorry, at times even that vehicle does not show up.
Exactly. Even in globally, as Shahzad mentioned, the figure 9.5 billion ton produced so far, only 10 to 12% waste is recycled.
Right.
So remaining 88% still in the environment,
That's true.
and they are damaging, including marine life. 8 million ton plastic waste is going into the sea, and they are
Marine life,
highly damaging to our marine environment.
Exactly, the aquatic life or the marine life as well. And in addition to this, where, sir, you've actually mentioned that that there's no segregation, there's no engineered landfill for that particular purpose. Imagine that that the plastic ban that I spoke about, if I was in Islamabad, okay, I wasn't getting any plastic bags. Imagine as soon as I stepped in Rawalpindi, as many bags as I wanted, they were there. So obviously we really need to kind of come up with that as well, and ministries who are responsible to do that might be planning on that. But now, sir, let's talk about the national and international initiatives that have been taken to make sure that we have such partnerships with which we can certainly achieve what we would want to achieve, and that is lesser plastic pollution. Probably it'll be too early for us to say that we'll get rid of plastic. I don't think that that's going to happen in near future, but gradually and slowly, number one. Number two, now imagine that for all of those industrialists or people who have invested in technology where they were able to make plastic goods, how do you think that they need to move further ahead with that? Do you think that they need to bring in alternate technologies for paper bags, and do you think that the government should aid them? Because imagine that they've invested so much in it, and now all of a sudden if there's a ban, it'll be a blow to them as well.
First I will just explain the internationally. Internationally, there is a one initiative taken by the United Nations Environment Assembly in 2022. That was to start a negotiation for the international treaty on the plastic pollution, including marine environment. So 175 countries of the world have started that initiatives, and now 3 meetings have been done so far.
The UNEA resolution?
UNEA resolutions 5/14, and Pakistan is part of that negotiation, and I personally participated in 2 meetings, one in Uruguay and other in Nairobi, and that is good. And they are just thinking that how can we manage from the from raw material to the finished product.
True.
We cannot get rid of plastic because it is desirable for many products, for hospital, different things.
True.
We are using for even
Syringes, gloves,
many things. We cannot avoid all types of pollution, even electronics, many things.
And we
Because our
want it cheaper
lifestyle
as
is
well.
dependent on that.
Exactly.
Yes,
Even
yes.
we can just to think single use plastic,
Right.
which is 35% of total waste which we are going to generate. But in the other hand, they are just talking that how can we get rid of this plastic pollution. That is
Right.
focus on plastic pollution, not plastic products. So that one thing clear. And secondly, there is a one initiative Pakistan is part of, World Economic Forum has, that is Global Plastic Action Partnership.
Okay.
And Pakistan is now going National Action Partnership
Mashallah.
program, and where we are going to make plastic into the circular economy.
Right.
And we have the consultation with the local governments, from environment departments and other industries which are going to recycle these products. So that is good initiative, and we have just developed a draft roadmap for national level, and we have consultation with different provinces. So that is the first steps, and its target is roadmap up to 2040.
Right.
And the second, we are the part of a regional project that is known as plastic free seas and rivers.
Oh, wonderful.
That is for the World Bank funded, and Asian countries including Pakistan and Bangladesh, other are part of this police project known, and we have been allocated this project for Pakistan, and its duration is about 2 years.
Right.
And its target is how can we get control all plastic from the rivers and seas.
Right.
So that is very useful project for us, and we are working on
And I
it.
think we can do that,
Yes.
because imagine that, when we do have people who are such geniuses, I mean, I don't know whether I should call them geniuses or evil geniuses, that they're able to kind of net around the entire river and get all sorts of fish, which is illegal to hunt even, or illegal to fish. I think we can pretty much catch all the plastic in the rivers and the seas as well.
Exactly.
And I think it is also the need of the hour, because if we are contaminating the marine life, the aquatic life, it is also coming back to us, because there were actually reports where they mentioned that how the unborn babies, the fetuses have plastics inside them because the mother is consuming that. And not just that, that there was another study, especially in the China, in which they mentioned that how the water that is inside the clouds is also contaminated because it has plastic in it, because the entire recycling thing. So if we destroy the mother nature, if we are not looking after the health of our mother nature, mother earth, we feel the effects of that. Maybe we are unable to articulate that or ruminate over that, but it is also affecting us, because at the part of it, we are all one, we are all connected, and we are all a part of the same. So it's important that we look after not just each other, but also the environment, and it is the need of the hour.
Exactly, which is why, one last question, Dr. Saab, before we wrap up this segment, and that is that with these carbonated drinks and mineral water bottles, which are pretty much a single-use plastic bottle as well. We've not spoken about it, and I've not seen anybody say that. These FMCG goods, which are everywhere, are usually, kind of are at the forefront of this plastic pollution. Why is it that nobody is kind of vocal about it? Is it because of how gigantic those companies and organizations are, or is it that we're still trying to figure out how to kind of go around them?
I think our lifestyle is so intermixed with that. We need to change that, and it's very difficult thing.
नहीं और किस में आएंगी ना मैं ये भी सोच रहा हूँ कि और किस चीज़ पानी के थैले मतलब किस थैले
No,
में
just I want about these PET bottles.
Yeah.
That is actually polyethylene terephthalate.
Dissolvable, yes, yes.
It is recyclable,
Okay.
and one industry that is using and converting these PET bottles into the staple fibers.
Okay.
And that is very successful, and I personally visit one industry in Lahore.
Wonderful.
They are converting these PET bottles into staple fiber, and that is known as the non-static, because polyester is static,
Yep.
but this product made from PET bottles is non-static.
Right.
And its demand is globally. One international brand, IKEA, is prefer, and they wrote on their product, this is made from 100% PET bottles.
Wow.
So one thing that is being happening in Pakistan, and that is the real example of circular economy. We are converting one type into the other products, which is the raw material for the other industry. So second thing, which you talk about the PET bottles and the
moving consumer goods.
consumer goods, and we have already a collaboration. There is the Association of Core Alliance, Collect and Recycle Alliance, and we are working closely with them, and we are asking them to collect their products, because they are producing but they are not collecting. Now we are going to first thing we are going to start awareness campaign, that is part of
Right,
single use
right.
plastic regulation, and now they are going to support this
Yeah.
awareness and the second thing, recycled plastic PET bottles, they are going to start from 1st July 2028, 50% in their PET bottle,
Yep.
50% will be the recycled plastic, and 50% will be the virgin plastic.
Wonderful.
So that is already in our single use plastic regulation.
And do you think that it's the right time for any investor to invest in plastic recycling plants?
100%. I fully support. I fully support.
Okay, I
And
think
this
that's
is more.
wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Saab, for
Thank
being
you
with
so
us. Lovely to be in conversation with you, and lovely to see how the ministries and each and every individual who happens to be a stakeholder of that is coming together and working to make sure that Pakistan is a more prosperous place. Not just that we're not contributing towards climate change, no carcinogenic gases are being released, and we are making sure that there's going to be less CO2, which is unfortunately very unhealthy for people like us or the flora and the fauna. With that, we're actually heading out towards a short break. There's another beautiful conversation that we're going to have, but it's more about wetlands, right? We
Right, and
discussed
I think
about
it's also about the health of our planet. So we are going to talk about it. Don't go anywhere. Good morning. And welcome back, and we are going to talk about the wetlands because February is the month which is dedicated to the wetlands. And why are we going to talk about particularly wetlands? What is the significance of that? And in this year, the theme of the Wetland Day was wetlands and human well-being. And human well-being, the physical, emotional, spiritual, is also linked with the health of the wetlands. And there are some very staggering figures, particularly reported by the United Nations, which points us the urgency to tackle this particular problem and to talk about it and to deal about it. So there is a negative trend, particularly we have witnessed in the biodiversity, and in which we have seen that 35% of the world's wetland have been lost, which is a very huge amount, and they are disappearing 3 times faster than the mountains and then the forest of particularly the world, which is very concerning. And this is why we are going to talk about the wetlands, what are exactly the concept of the wetland, and Pakistani state has been working on preserving the wetlands and what sort of results are they yielding. So we are going to be in the conversation with someone who is very proficient in this particular field, and he has worked extensively over that, and he has lots of experience accumulated not just academically but also from the field. So we are very glad that we have been joined by Dr. Ijaz Ahmed Saab, who has been regular on our show and happens to be an environmentalist. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Ji, assalamu alaikum.
So
Thank you
much for coming
again
to our show.
for having me. on this important topic.
So, sir, let's talk about the importance of the wetlands, right? How are they contributing towards our ecosystem, and how are they preserving the life on this planet that we call Mother Earth?
Yeah. Generally, I mean, like wetlands are considered as one of the most productive ecosystem globally,
Right.
because it supports not only the environment or ecosystem, but also the human being.
Right.
There are different kinds of wetlands, like any water body, in the form of lakes, in the form of ponds, in the form of glacier, river, or even the coastal area, marine area, which is up to 6-meter depth, is considered as part of the wetland. So, we even dams, artificial like ponding of water, that is also considered as wetlands.
So what are the uses of wetlands as well?
So, the wetlands are, they play very important role in regulating the overall
bodies, right?
environment or overall climate in that particular area. Wetlands play a very important role by supporting the biodiversity in the form of fisheries, which is linked to the profession and the livelihood of the thousands, and actually not thousands, millions of people. And similarly for agriculture, for the environment of the local area. So, I think since it is considered as one of the most productive ecosystem, everything which is like related to water is being provided by these wetlands.
Right. So, Dr. Saab, you mentioned one of the word, and I would like to take forward it and develop a conversation on that, which is the agriculture, right? So, now let's explore the link between the wetlands and agriculture, because Pakistan is an agrarian society and our economy is supported by the agriculture. So, what sort of a correlation exists between wetlands and agriculture? Is it a negative one? Is it a positive one? Are farmers contributing towards the well-being of the wetlands, or are they degrading the wetlands? So, what is the link between them?
It's love and hate. I mean, like it's not hate in that form,
right?
Because I think when we talk about agriculture, most of the wetlands support agriculture because they provide water, which is like very important for any crop.
True.
But in addition, we should also look into the practices, agricultural practices, which are going on in the form of like by polluting. In the form of pesticides which are being applied on the crops. Similarly, fertilizers, the inorganic fertilizers. Whenever like these pesticides are applied, and if there is a rain afterwards, all the pesticides, they just flush out and they enter into water bodies.
Right.
Or either they become part of the aquifer because they seep into the soil. So, in both cases, they play a very negative role by polluting, by like destroying the aquatic life.
Right.
So, agriculture actually takes water, use wetlands, and then ultimately pollute
But
the
sir,
wetlands.
when we talk about the farmers community, and Shahzad, if you talk to them, so we think that they might not know a lot about their profession, but they are very well aware of their profession, and there's a lot of local wisdom because they have been in the field and they know so much about it. So how can we make them more empowered community, so they are not just looking after their agricultural products, but they're also protecting the wetlands, because again,
that's where their product is coming
exactly,
from.
if
Eventually.
you are looking after the wetlands, it's a long-term investment, because that is going to fuel your income, right?
Yeah. Actually, like most of them are, they look short-term gains.
Yeah,
the crop that they are sowing, and they feel that the crop should be more productive, and then they should like get the crop and yield more and more.
True.
So, ultimately what happens is and then the most of the like pesticide companies, they have their own marketing strategies.
That's
which
true.
is much
effective, right? Yeah,
because there are a lot of I mean like greed involved in it, whether it's part of the dealer or whether it's part of the agent that they so they actually inform, they provide wrong information to the farmers. And we have seen that. I used to work for WWF, and there we have seen that in cotton, there are about 10 to 12 different like applications of pesticide, whereas we conducted a study, and then we found out that even 4 to 5 application of pesticides are good enough for protection of crop. So the additional the 5
Is being
application
marketed in
is
such a way that people think that it's important.
exactly
to use
it's
it.
important, and then we have to do it right there and then. So I think the most important thing for agriculture extension worker is to convince the farmers that there is a threshold level of pests where they can gain much more benefit by applying maybe one time instead of 4 or 5 times.
So it's more like my other half who keeps on telling me jaldi aao bada zaruri kaam hai. I think that's how it is.
I don't
On a
think so.
lighter note,
Farmers
yeah.
are, I mean, that much stupid that they don't know the
No,
effects
but they use
of
it.
that,
They
right?
use it because there's lesser of awareness, not
There's
everywhere.
also the complicity of the
Yeah.
farmers in this particular situation, because again, like sir mentioned, so they want to have the shorter term gains, and it is not just the problem of the farmers, this is the
Yeah.
problem of our entire country,
Yeah,
right?
and you know, probably the Tekadar himself as well. But very quickly, sir, now what I would want to kind of ask you is, then when we talk about the climate change which has been going on, you know, we have seen, you know, some severe sort of temperature highs and lows as well. You know, we have had a 2-month complete dry winters over here. How do you think that it's going to have an impact? Now imagine that there's not been enough snowfall, so there's lesser of glaciers out there now, there's lesser of water, there's lesser of rain.
Yes.
How do you think it's going to have its impact on wetlands?
Well, it is already having an impact on wetlands because water supply to these wetlands is limited now.
True.
depleted.
Then there are, you know, like chances that since there is, as you mentioned, glaciers are melting. So as soon as the winter ends and summer starts, the melting process will enhance,
Enhance,
and
yeah.
we have not have enough deposit. So ultimately, you know, like we are going to have shortage of water, which is going to be very alarming during this year because we did not get enough rain. During these months, normally, you know, like we get enough rains to have level of our dams to significantly, you know, like at a level where we can have a good crop. And wheat crop play very important role in the, you know, like life of every Pakistani.
So
because
can
it's
it
a stable-
lead to shortages of food?
yes, that will lead into the food crisis, and food security issue will become higher, and the prices of these commodities will also increase.
And then destruction of habitats?
Well, destruction of habitat is another aspect, you know, like because of the unplanned development, we are compromising on, you know, like by land grabbing, land destruction, passing road through in the middle
Anywhere
of.
and
have,
wherever we
yeah,
want.
we have seen like in Kalar Kahar, if we, you know, closest we can talk about. So it is surrounded by now roads, whereas, you know, like we used to get all the rainwater, and then now there is obstruction. So not enough water is entering into these.
But the sole reason to ask this, Haja, very sorry, was, you know, for the awareness of our audiences as well. I'm not, it's a very generic thing, but you know, it is important because imagine that I watched this documentary, sir. It was, I think, probably on Amazon Forest as well, where, you know, unfortunately there weren't many fox left around. And they saw that the ecosystem of the entire forest started to die, so they had to introduce that fox life back into the forest.
Right.
And it saw that, you know, how the life came back to
Exactly.
it. So every individual, every species, every
The ecosystem is
yeah.
linked, right? That there is a harmony in it, there
There
is a
is a linkage,
synergy in
yeah.
it, right? So if you disturb one aspect of that, you are going to
Everything is
destroy
disturbed.
the entire ecosystem. And this is the beauty of Allah, that is keep manifesting on and on. And this is, I think, nature is always telling us that you are fiddling with the wrong thing. But again, sir, now let's talk about the opportunities that are being created by the climate change, because Shahzad mentioned about how the glaciers are melting, right? And we have received less rain this year because, like Shahzad mentioned, it has been 3 months since it rained last because of, dry
Dry, cold
winters,
weather,
right?
yeah.
So so you talked about their wetlands are depleting because there was the lesser rain, but when the glaciers are melting and they're coming down, so do you believe that that's an opportunity for the wetlands to get filled again, and can we, how can we capture the water that is coming from our third pole?
Well, actually, this is you know, like a matter of concern actually.
Okay.
Because we are not getting enough rain, enough snow.
Right.
due to these climatic changes.
Enormous.
So there is no, we don't have that much of deposit. So it's like a bank account. If you don't deposit in the form of snow, so ultimately what will happen that by when the temperature will increase, ultimately there will be a lot of melting.
True.
And though the deposit will actually decrease.
Yeah, but that the
So
trapped snow will convert into water, right? But the water will come down eventually.
But then
So how
eventually
do-
the temperature
Yes.
is going to go high as well now, because the glaciers are melting
But,
anyways.
but when the water is coming down, how can we utilize it, right?
Yes, I think then there is another actually phenomena which is called GLOF, Glacier Lake Outburst
Yes,
Floods,
yes.
because there is like no lake, but then there are temporary water bodies which are formed,
Yes.
and when the size increases, then they burst,
Right.
because they don't have enough strength.
True.
So ultimately, like it hurts people, life is
Endanges
at
communities,
risk.
yes.
But then yes, I agree that these are some of the opportunities that we get, and then it is, I think, responsibility of researcher and like those who are involved in water management, how we can utilize, how we can actually store that water. We have, that is another issue.
True,
We don't have enough storage capacity,
That's true.
and ultimately we face
That is the
problem.
issue of our country as well. We're not water scarce, but we are unable to manage the water.
I
and
think
it's
we are
easy.
It's
also
both,
what-
actually,
It's
yeah.
both,
Yeah.
the combination of
Yes,
both. But
yeah.
we do have our indigenous systems that were developed. For example, kares, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about it. It's a wonderful system, particularly in Balochistan, where they are making sure that they're protecting the water bodies there. And then
Yes.
there is another system. I'm forgetting the name of that,
Drip.
particularly
Rohtak.
India Khan area. Rohtak system. Thank you so much. So how can this indigenous knowledge, these indigenous systems that were developed, I mean, by the local communities there, can help in integrating and protecting us in our water bodies, particularly?
Actually, with the passage of time, the amount of water is decreasing.
Yes.
And then the crops that we are actually sowing in those areas, high water demanding
True.
crops. For example, apple was introduced in those areas, and it need more water.
Right.
So the Carre system, unfortunately, is not working to that extent now,
Right.
because of lack of water, lack of capacity, and then there is no repair of this system. And this Carre system was excellent, and there are like examples globally where people look into it as one of the most water conservation related
Right.
initiative.
Right.
So these systems are unfortunately not continuing because the people who were involved in the development of the system do not have that kind of capacity now.
Nice.
Exactly.
They have
And there were some local malpractices too, right? Because they were diverting away the system, the Carre
Exactly.
system, and that entire water flow was disturbed because of that.
agriculture has extended, everybody wanted to have more water.
True.
So they have actually, there are leakages in
Exactly,
these
in that
traditional
entire
systems.
Yeah, and we
unfortunately.
might have come across such videos on social media as well, how water was actually diverted to somebody else's field rather than somebody else's. But thank you so much, Dr. Shah, for
Thank
being
you
with
so
us.
much.
Lovely to be in conversation with you.
Thank you so
And
much.
for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, this is what our responsibility is, and this is exactly how we feel
Exactly.
every single day over here at PTV World, because that's what our entire team is up to every single day. There's a concerted effort in making sure that we spread that awareness which needs to be out there amongst people. You happen to be that agent of change as well, so please make sure wherever you see that the things are not right, that you're vocal about it. Make sure that you sit down with the gentleman or the lady and try to make them understand. There's so many different systems that we've spoken about. It's our world, it's our planet Earth, and we need to protect it, and we should be responsible for it. Until next time, look after yourselves. Please make sure to write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of
World This Morning.
on Twitter,
World This Morning.
on Daily Motion and YouTube.
World This Morning.
Until next time, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.
morning.